Okay, so today's topic is greed. I know that we're talking about resilience this month. So we're actually talking about how to become more resilient to the concept of greed. So I'm just going to jump into it. So what actually is greed? Well, if we're trying to define it, it's basically an obsession with the P&L or an over focus on the P&L and taking actions that you think will get you more money quicker. But the thing about greed is that people sometimes assume in trading that it's like a personality trait and it's something that they are just they're a victim of in a way. But it's actually not that simple or straightforward. So what people call greed is actually can be one of a multitude of different things. So in your trading, the actions that might look like greed or that people perceive to be greed would be things like staying in trades too long because you're trying to squeeze out as much profit as possible, maybe taking too many trades, taking trades that don't fit your A plus setups because you're just itching to get in there and make money. But really, this is actually kind of ironic. So if you think that if you were greedy, your aim was to make loads of money, if you stand back from that and look at it kind of coldly, then you would know that actually following your trading plan is the quickest and most consistent way to actually do that. So when we're talking about greed, there's actually something else going on. It's not really an obsession with money. It's subconscious scripts that are at play and emotions that are being triggered by them. Because if the answer was just to stick to your trading plan and that would get you the money, well, then it would be simple. But what's actually happening is that you're being triggered. And usually, if you think to the emotion that you're feeling before you engage in whatever action it is that you would determine as greed, so any of those things that we discussed a second ago that would come up in your trading actions, so the staying in trades too long or whatever it is, if you think of the emotion that's being triggered before you do that, then you'll have a better idea as to what's behind these actions. So what subconscious script is at play. And so greed is really a product of a mindset that speaks to scarcity or a lack. So there's a perceived lack somewhere, and that's translating itself into greed. So let me explain that a little bit better. So if you have a mindset of scarcity, so maybe a money mindset that says that I'll never have enough money no matter what's in the bank account, then that might prime a feeling of panic. And when you're in the market, then you're trying to get rid of that feeling of panic by making more money. So that's how you actually get led to taking those actions. But also the emotion that could be triggered might actually not necessarily have something to do with money. So you could also have a perceived lack of worthiness in yourself, so a lack of self-worth. How would that link with greed? If you're trying to actually validate yourself, so find validation in the amount of profit that you make or in your trading performance. So you're trying to actually, gain as much profit as possible, because the more profit, the more successful, and therefore the more you feel good about yourself. Then the perceived lack in that situation would be a lack of self-esteem or a feeling that you weren't worthy. And that would then prime the action that you would take that looks like greed on the surface, but it's actually nothing even to do with money. So when it comes to resolving greed, and I know this is going a little bit deep into it, but I think it's an important topic to address because so many people struggle with it. So when we're actually looking at resolving it, there's two ways to approach it. And one is a very practical way. And it's actually surprising how many people don't have rules around this or don't have a structure around it. So the very first place to start is to identify your targets for what profit you would like to make. So think of, in a yearly sense, what financial gains you want to make. So are you looking for a salary out of trading? Then break that down into what you'd need to be earning monthly, and then weekly, and then daily. And then you might turn that into an or value goal daily, because you don't want to be focusing too much on, hitting a certain amount of profit in a day. But once you have rules around that or a structure, then you know when enough is enough. And that can be really helpful, because if you don't have that target in a day to reach, or a place where okay, if I hit that, then I'm meeting my long-term goals, you're more likely to be engaging in emotionally based trading. So greed is going to take a hold. That's the practical way. And then the other way is to look at the emotion that's being triggered before you take those actions that you're classifying as greed. And then ask yourself, what perceived lack might I be experiencing that's resulting in those actions? And if you can unpick that, then you can disrupt that automatic process. And then you're going to be a whole lot more resilient to the idea of greed. So it takes greed away from being this personality trait that people are helpless against to actually being something that's completely within your control to resolve.
Créde, that is painfully accurate. But I thank you for helping us actually face sort of the reality of our trading and the motivations behind it. So I've got to say, by the
Never
way,
put
last Wednesday I had the opportunity, obviously, just to sit and listen to what you shared, and it had a deep impact. It really helped me for the rest of the week, and I hope it's going to continue through this week. So thank you so much for doing these sessions. They're always extremely valuable.
Fab. Thanks, Peter.
Thanks a lot.